let's take a look at Bedikas Comets, because that's kind of important, right? Searching for your Comets. We looked at it a couple of weeks ago, but I want to look at it again a little bit more in depth. And what's going to be happening? So again, cleaning the house. There are two different ways of cleaning, to be honest, right? You can either clean everything, or you can do what many people do, which is that they'll stuff where they know that there are problematic places, so they'll just lock them up. And we'll talk about it. They'll sell the house together. They'll sell those bits of the apartment or the house together with their chomets. So, for example, what might be a problem? Children's toys very often, full of bits and pieces of chomets. They play, they eat all kinds of things, chomet sticker things during the year whilst they're playing. What we do in my house is that we put away all the toys, and we have toys for Pesach. We don't have very many, but the truth of the matter is, because they only come out once a year, everyone gets very excited about them. And it's good, it's fine. Everyone seems to manage somehow.
You can't wash stuffed animals?
You can. Wash the stuffed animals. Only after they've eaten, we tend to wash them down. Yeah, hose them down on the mirpesset or something. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the grandchildren. You're talking about teddy bears. Sorry, that's a. So the truth is that what my wife tends to do is that she'll take the big, like the easier things to clean, like the Duplo and Lego, and just dump them in the bath. Right. Give them a quick spritz. Anyway, so everyone should do whatever is best for them. Really, is it okay to sell? Yeah, you can sell all your stuff if you've got stuff that you don't want to go through it. It's too complicated. You can just put it into a cupboard. The only thing is that the cupboard needs to be signed. There used to be a sign on it saying that it's Comets. Why is that? Because when the Comets is being sold, which we'll talk about as well in Mitzvah Hashem, when the Comets is being sold, so there has to be clear signs for if the person who's bought it wants to come in and eat your Comets or play with your Lego or whatever it is, then he's got to be able to know where this stuff is. It also means that you've got to know not to open up these cupboards on Pesach, because Lemaisa, practically speaking, halachically, they're not really yours. Like those cupboards that the Comets is now sitting inside of, they don't belong to you, because you've sold them to a non-Jew. That's going to go a sale that's going to go through with the rabbi. Maybe we'll just talk about the sale quickly now, because it's kind of important. How do you sell your Comets? So you go to a rabbi over here. I would imagine that there'll probably be a couple of people. Rabbi Weiner, I imagine, is probably taking care of the sale of Comets. Maybe Rav Samet might be taking care of it as well. It is a proper contractual agreement.
With whom?
With a non-Jewish person. You're not selling your Comets to the rabbi, right? He becomes your shaliach. He becomes your agent in order to sell it on to somebody who's not Jewish, and it's sold. Now, how does the sale work? The sale is that the non-Jew has a week, 8 days, within which to exercise his ownership over the Comets, over the leaven, right? And if he does that, then he's got to pay you for it, right? And if not, I guess it's like taking out it's like futures or something, isn't it? It's like you're making a contractual agreement for something that you may want to buy. In the meantime, it belongs to you. In the meantime, it belongs to him, even though he's not. But the minute he comes to get it, then he's triggering off the contract and he's got to buy it. That's why, for example, you've got enormous businesses that's full of Comets. So how do they, aren't they scared that they're going to sell their Comets to a non-Jewish person and he's going to come and take all their stock? Well, they don't have very much to be scared of. For example, Osem. Osem is an enormous conglomerate over here in Israel, and most of the stuff that they're preparing is Chomet sticker stuff, and they've got to get rid of it for Pesach. What are they going to do? So they sell, it gets sold to a non-Jew. Are they not scared that the non-Jew is going to come and take over the factory? Not particularly, because if he does, he'll trigger off the buy clause, and at that, then he's going to have to pay. And of course, the amount that's written over there is normally a larger amount than what it's really worth. It's like an insurance policy, really. What that does, though, is ensure that the Comets is not in your possession over Pesach. That's what the important thing over here. Right? That the Comets shouldn't be yours. Now, what's
like a down payment?
Huh? No, he doesn't have to put down a goy. He doesn't have to put down a down payment at all because it's a contractual agreement, which means that he's saying like once you've signed a contract, in halacha, how do you make an agreement which is valid according to Jewish law? You can either sign a contract, you can do it in front of two witnesses, you can give over a deposit, right? You don't need to do all of those things. It's true in the when you're making a contractual agreement in the secular world. So especially over significant things, normally you sign a contract and you put down a deposit. But that's not required according to Jewish law. You don't need that. You just need one of them. Signing the contract is perfectly enough. It's a chozeh. It's a shtar mechira. It's not a zichron. I don't know how you say zichron devayim in English, but here in Israel, they probably have it as well outside. But in Israel, they have this thing that when you want to buy something and you haven't actually finalized everything, all the details, but you want to make sure that that thing is going to be yours, you sign a zichron dvarim, which is like an agreement. I don't know, how would you say this in English? I don't know.
Zichron dvarim, you're saying?
A zichron dvarim is that we have agreed that we're going to, securing an agreement of some kind. Yeah. Which means that somebody wants to buy your car, right? But you haven't drawn up a legal contract right now, but he wants to make sure you don't sell it to anybody else. So in the meantime, you just draw up a couple of lines which says, I agree to sell my car to, whatever his name is, at a date sometime in the future. And that means that you're now locked into the sale. But that's not the same as a contractual agreement, right? A shtar mechira, which is what's used for Comets, is something which is a lot more. It's got a lot more legality than that. It's got a lot more legal weight to it than that. He's actualizing the contract.
Right.
He's got 8 days to make a decision about whether he wants it or not, right? If he decides that he wants don't ask me why, but he wants your, half leftover pasta and bagels and whiskey, then he's going to have to pay you for them. Now, the truth of the matter is, if he does that, you're stuffed because you can't stop him from paying you and taking it because that was the function of the contract to begin with. And if you do try to stop him from taking it, then it's clear that the contract that was made from before Pesach, in your eyes, wasn't valid. And if it wasn't valid, that means that you were only Comets over Pesach, which is not a good thing to do. Really not recommended. Really not. In theory, again, if you're selling the entire apartment, then in theory, there's really nothing stopping the fellow from coming in to your apartment, asking the keys being held by the rabbi, asking for the key from the rabbi, going into the apartment and eating your Comets. The problem is, though, that the minute he does that, he triggers off the sale. If he's triggering off the sale, that means he's now got to pay you, not just for what he ate, he's got to pay you for all of the value of the Comets. One of the things that the rabbi does when he draws up the contract is he'll put a value to whatever it is that you're selling. So, say for example, there might be $50 worth of food, right? And there may be a couple of $100 worth of whiskey, depending on, what kind of whiskey you like to drink. And the minute the non-Jew decides to go in and drink a glass of whiskey, then he's now triggered off the sale. Again, that's fine, right? He's got to pay for it, yeah.
Okay, so here's a scenario. Let's say the non-Jew comes in, drinks your whiskey, triggers off the sale, right? And he says, I'm actually going to pay you for all of your chametz. Well, now you have to give him all your chametz, but then you're in violation of seeing chametz over Pesach.
No, that's okay, because the pshat is that
it's not your chametz.
The pshat is that it's really not your chametz anymore. Again, we've got to
seeing your chametz over Pesach.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. For sure. You can walk past a non-Jewish bakery on Pesach, and you could look in the window. Nothing's going to happen to you.
Enjoy the view. Can I go in there?
Can you go in? There's a problem of maris ayin, which is in theory there's no problem. The Gemara talks about whether it's mutter to walk through a bakery on Shabbos or not, right? On Pesach or not. Gemara in Pesachim. And there's a machlokes in the Gemara. There's disagreement in the Gemara about whether there's an issur of smelling Comets on Pesach or not. It's a little bit complicated.
Because you can
but
benefit from the smell.
I mean, smells are pretty good normally, right? Good smells are good.
Yeah.
Not so good smells are normally not so good. But that's so can you go into a bakery? So again, in theory, you could go into a bakery on Pesach. What's the problem though? Somebody sees you that there's a halacha called maris ayin, right? Marit ayin
can't open the
is
can't carry the
it's a problem, right? What's the problem? You're doing something which is perfectly okay, but it looks wrong.
Right.
right? So, you go into a shop on Shabbos morning, you want to know what the time is, right? So you walk into a store and you say, excuse me, what's the time? But, the person across the street's watching, sees you going, he doesn't know. He's just, coming to the wrong conclusion, the worst conclusion, right? And so things like that are considered to be also. Is it okay to go into a bakery, a non-Jewish bakery on Pesach? No, right? Even if there's no problem with the smell, getting hana, getting benefit from the smell, getting pleasure from the smell, nevertheless, there's a problem with maris ayin, that's for sure. Right? Of doing something which, even though the action itself may be okay, but it looks wrong. In all events, so you go to the rabbi, you sell your Comets. The rabbi is going to give a value to the Comets. Now, something you need to know over here, for anybody here who owns shares, just in general, right, you need to know, what's the problem with owning shares? Very often shares are enormous conglomerates, right? They own all kinds of businesses, right? So you may have shares in, I don't know, let's say
General Mills, which is
no, that's obvious though. I'm saying you might have shares in something which is not so obvious. As far as you know, it's, I don't know, like a sports conglomerate, right? But what you don't know is that the sports conglomerate also happens to own like a whole bunch of I don't know, outlets for selling fast food, right? You don't know that, right? So you think that your shares don't have any comments in them, right? But the truth of the matter is, because they're part of something which is larger, there could be a problem over here, which means that shares, that you should let the rabbi know that you own shares. Let him decide what he's going to do with them, right? Again, it's like you don't have to sell your shares, but there has to be a clause in there to know that they're not, temporarily they're not yours, right? Which means that what's going to happen over here? First of all, if the rabbi is concerned enough, right, then he'll ask you, let's say you own 1,000 shares in General Mills. Now, I don't know what they're worth today, but let's say they're worth $5 each, which is $5,000, but he'll put them in as a worth of $50,000, which means that if the non-Jew wants to come and take your General Mills shares, you'd probably be pretty happy, actually, because he's triggering off a sale which is considerably more than what it's worth. Right? Just so you need to know these things, that's all. It's like another thing you need to know. Something else you need to be concerned about when you're selling Comets is your geographic location. Where are you going to be? Now, over here it's less of a problem, but if you're over here and you're keeping an extra day of Yom Tov because you're really based outside of Israel, you're not living here, then the rabbi needs to know that, because your contract needs to be an extra day. Right? You can't have your Comets coming back into your possession on the 8th day of Pesach, which is the last day of Yom Tov for you, even though it's not Yom Tov for anybody else. That's a problem, right? Which is something that you've got to be very careful about. And again, time zones are things to be careful about. You've got people in America, here in Israel, we don't have any time zones because, Israel's full of Jews, so time is all just, pretty arbitrary anyway, right? But in America, you've got enormous difference in time zones. If you've got somebody who's going from the East Coast to the West Coast for Pesach, or from the West Coast to the East Coast, all of that's got to be calculated in, because he's selling his chametz to his local rabbi, right? The local rabbi is working according to local time over there. You're now traveling to wherever you're going on the other side of the country, which could have a difference of how much? 6 hours? 6 hours difference?
4 hours.
4?
I think.
the West Coast is 3.
Oh yeah, you're right.
3, okay, even 3 hours is going to make a difference, right? Because you've got the rabbi buying back chometz on Motzei Pesach after Pesach, but over there it's still Pesach. He's got another 3 hours over there. He's got to know all these things. It's important, right? Otherwise, a person Chalila could end up owning chometz for the last couple of hours over Pesach. If you're traveling abroad, so for sure it's going to be a problem, right? So you're coming from America to here. The truth is, coming from America to here is less complicated at one end, because it's going to go out later than it's going out over here. Whatever, make all the cheshbonis yourself. It's a problem. The rabbi needs to know that you're in Israel for Pesach, because when he's selling your chometz at the beginning of Pesach, it's got to be sold before it's Pesach over here. Even though in New York it's 7 hours earlier, right? And the rabbi's got plenty of time to sell the local chometz, but he doesn't have plenty of time to sell yours, because you're already over here now, and your chometz over there, that can't be in your possession either, Right? So things that need to, it's very important, all of this, to have it all, just that everything should be clear, yeah.
What if I own Comets all over the world?
If you own Comets all over the world, so let's say you've got apartments all over the place, right? And you don't have to own all over the world. Let's say you could have an apartment in Australia, which is the earliest place where Pesach is going to be, right? It comes in whatever, hours before everybody else, and you can have an apartment where would be, I don't know where else in Alaska. Is that going to be the furthest? Whatever. That's the two opposites. Good, right? Then what do? It's all got to be factored in. Right, it's important. All of this stuff is very important. Again, because what's the problem? Only Comets is a deal raisa. It's a Torah prohibition. Right, which means you've got to be careful. So if you are somebody like that and you've got apartments all over the place, you own Comets all over the place, then you need to be careful with that. For sure. Okay, Bedikas Comets. We make a bracha over Bedikas Comets. We did that, right? You need to know where do you need to check? Well, first of all, you need to check any place where you normally take Comets during the year. That's where you need to check. Now, different houses have different rules. In my house, the rule in my house is that we don't seem to have any rules, and Comets seems to end up everywhere, and that means that everywhere's got to be checked. But certain, other people are much more careful, and they don't let the kids go to certain rooms, and they can't be in certain places.
But you still need to check there.
Huh?
You still
No,
need to
if
check
you've got rooms where Comets does not go,
you still need to check.
and you don't have to check. No. So I'll give you
If
an
you have
example
kids-
over here.
If you have kids, I heard you do need to check because they might take even though.
Oh, so if again, I mean, if your kids are well brought up and obedient, which precludes all Israeli children, then in fact it precludes all Jewish children, I think. Whatever, yeah. I'll give you an example over here, which might be an easier example to relate to. Is you've got a machsan. What is a machsan? A little storage room. And the storage room is normally not a part of your apartment, right? Like for example, in my building, it's 4 stories down, and all the storage rooms are in their own place, right? So do you have to check in the storage room? If the storage room is not,
brought a chametz,
if a rat brought a piece of chametz into your storage room, you've got problems that are bigger than that piece of chametz that's in your storage room. You need to get an exterminator in. That's what you need to do. Yeah, the Gemara talks about it again. What's chat? If you saw the rat, then you've got to then you need to check. But if you're working on the premise, there's no rat over there. You've never seen rats over there. There's no reason why there should be a rat. Then you don't have to check. Right? If it's a place that you don't normally take your chametz, you don't normally take your, I don't know, right? Use your imagination and. Rav Scheinberg, until the last couple of years of his life, when he was too frail. He used to give a shir every year to the women before Pesach, and he used to explain to them that dust is not Comets. It is important to know this, right? Because very often women, it's very nice to clean the house and get it really nice and sparkling clean and everything is spring cleaning and everything that goes together with it. It's very nice, it really is, but that's not the ikar. The ikar is that we've got to get rid of the Comets, and the Comets is what we're concerned about. Again, if somebody wants to take upon themselves to do more than that and to clean in a more thorough fashion, so fine, let them do that. Well, the problem is like this: if they're getting rid of the Comets which is inside of you, you might find your mother-in-law coming in one day with a like a flamethrower or something, and here I just want to burn out the Comets inside of you. It won't take long. Oh, okay, thank you. I would be a little bit concerned if I were you. But what's the Indian is sometimes people they go overboard, and it becomes a time which is very fraught. There's a lot of stress, a lot of tension in the build up to Pesach. It's difficult enough time as it is, right? Obviously, the most important point in the house is the kitchen. The kitchen has got all the Comets inside of it. That's where all the Comets related issues are really going to be. Yeah. So there's two different inyanim. We've got the practical halachic dimension, which is the most important. That's what's paramount, right? Get rid of the Comets that's in your home. How do you do that? You clean the house. Does that mean that you have to take a toothbrush and scrub in between each tile to make sure? No, it does not mean that at all, right? Does it mean that you've got to take a blowtorch and clean out the nooks and the crevices inside of your oven. No, that's not what it means. What it means is getting rid of the Comets, all the stuff which is clearly Comets. It means cleaning everything up to make sure that it's okay. One of the simplest ways of cleaning Comets, which is no longer edible for a dog, it's not considered to be Comets anymore. So what many people do, all these cleaning agents that are used in kitchens are normally they're pretty destructive, these things. If you spritz some of this stuff inside of your oven and then clean it off, it's going to be good, right? If you've got bits and pieces, so fine, rub it down with some wire wool or something to get rid of the the obvious bits and pieces. But it doesn't really require much more than that. I had a friend. Fridges and freezers are complicated today. They're very complicated mechanisms, right? And they've got you normally have a passageway that goes from the freezer into the fridge, which is how the fridge stays cool. The coldness is really coming from the freezer, and you've got a little grill. And however cold you want the fridge to be, you open up the grill to whatever size you want it to be, the holes, and it lets the cold air come into the fridge. Anyway, so what's the problem? People get super careful with cleaning out their fridges, and they anything that doesn't move has paper put down on top of it, contact paper placed on it to keep it clean for Pesach, and they cover up this thing, and the fridge stops working, strangely enough, right? Because it's not getting any cold air, and nobody can understand why. And that's the reason. It's really very simple. It really is. What have you got to do? First of all, glass surfaces do not really need to have any kind of contact paper put on them at all. They need to be washed. They need to be cleaned. And then they can be put back into the fridge. So glass shelves inside of the fridge are really not a problem. The plastic that goes around them, just clean them, right? Spritz them with bleach. And that way, and just clean it off. So, clean, for sure you got to clean. Clean dining area. That's a good place to clean. There's normally lots of chametz around over there, and you want to clean carefully, and the nooks and the crannies for sure, right? But do you have to unscrew your toilet, the toilet seat, and clean that? No, you don't. You really don't have to do these things. You really don't. If you are married to somebody who wants to do that, that's how they clean for Pesach. I would say tavo alehem bracha, right? Tavo alehen bracha, right? And I would say that stay out of the way. That's what I would say. So anyway, clean. Of course, we've got to clean. And you've got to clean. Little things. Check your pockets, because you do put things inside of your pockets, and there's food in there, and there can be crumbs in there. And if you've got little kids, little kids do go wandering around and they deposit their bisleys in all kinds of interesting places. Make sure that you're cleaning things out that you think need to be cleaned. Like I said before, toy boxes are normally great places to find all different kinds of bits and pieces of Comets that shouldn't be. Other places, like I said, Don't be so lenient that you're not going to check in places that you do need to check in, but don't be so stringent that by the time it comes to Pesach, you're a complete and absolute wreck. Yeah.
What about toothpaste?
I'm all for it. Really, I think it should be used in moderation.
No, I'm saying is there any issue with Comets and toothpaste?
Well, it depends what if you have a toothpaste sandwich, then there probably is. I think.
Okay, I think Rabbi knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. It's true. It's difficult to get a roll out of that little tube over there, right? You can't. It's you ever squeeze this thing like a baguette comes out or something? No, it's toothpaste. There are, Baruch Hashem, today lots and lots and lots of different kinds of kosher Pesach toothpastes. One of the problems of toothpaste with regards to Pesach has got less to do with Comets and more to do with alcohol. Some of them have a small amount of alcohol inside them. If the alcohol is not kosher Pesach, then it's a problem. There were, interestingly enough, what I remember maybe about 30 years ago, there were toothpastes that had little grains in them to clean like they whitened up your teeth. But they were actually made out of Comets. There was some kind of Comets material.
Just use sand, really.
They were a problem, right? Of course, if you have little children, you'll probably find yourself eating sand on many occasions. But that's like a separate thing. That's not just Pesach. That's all year round. Should you be careful? Yeah, you know what? The emphasis is like this. Is toothpaste food? It's not food, right? I mean, unless you're really very strange. I'm not saying you're not, right? But I don't know if it stretches quite that far. I don't know. Toothpaste is not food. Is there a real problem? Not really. But like I said, there's absolutely no reason today not to use kosher Pesach toothpaste. Colgate have got a whole series, like 4 or 5 different kinds of their toothpaste. Other toothpaste, you know, we're talking about, I'm not talking about when I was a kid growing up, we used Zohar toothpaste on Pesach. This stuff was like, it was like industrial strength, and it was pretty bad. You know, today you've got regular toothpaste that you would buy all year round that have kosher Pesach certification. You've got mouthwash, right? Again, when I was a kid growing up, there was only one kind of mouthwash that was okay for Pesach. Today, Baruch Hashem, there are all different kinds of mouthwash. Mouthwash is a little bit more problematic, again, because of the alcohol content. Although lots of mouthwashes today, nothing to do with Pesach, the trend nowadays is not to use alcohol inside of mouthwash, because they found a whole bunch of people getting drunk first thing in the morning.